Good evening. Welcome to this regularly scheduled meeting of the Jefferson County Board of Education. Our colleague, Mr. Osborne, extends his regrets he's not able to be with us this evening. Do we have someone leading the pledge?
We do.
Ah, there we are. Please.
Sir President, Madam Superintendent, members of the board, this is Delaney Graham. She's a second grader at Drisswood Elementary School, and she has lots of fans. Even her teacher came to be her biggest fan tonight, but her teacher has some amazing things to say about her. She said, Delaney is a hardworking, self-motivated young lady. She has a true love of learning in addition to being a kind and a caring student. With hard work and her dedication, she will be able to achieve anything she puts her mind to. And I 100% believe that. So she's here tonight to help us with the pledge.
Well, thank you. Well, let's please join us in standing for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Great job of starting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Looks like we have some outstanding. Great way to start Thanksgiving week.
We have a lot to be
great
thankful for in
recognitions.
Jefferson, sir. Yes, we
Sure
do. Yes, we do.
Would you like to start us?
Sure. We do have a lot of recognitions tonight, and that's actually a wonderful thing because we have some amazing students and faculty here in Jefferson. We do have an enormous amount to be thankful for as a community. So we will get started with there is a Principal Leadership Academy that is in place every single year in the state where they take aspiring leaders and put them through a program, and each year they identify a small handful of those students as the most distinguished in their class. This year only 10 individuals out of the entire state were named for that. We honored one of them at the last board meeting, Mr. Ian Hillman, and we have another one here tonight that Mr. Pat Blanc is going to introduce and honor.
Ms. Brock here.
Ms. Brock, there she is.
We talked about you at the last meeting.
Yeah.
But, yeah, congratulations, and we're real proud of having you with Jefferson County Schools and being one of our distinguished scholars throughout the state. And, good certificate with you there.
Up here, back there.
Here, let's. I guess we'll come over. How are you? Let me see this. All right.
All right, ready? 1, 2. One more for good luck. 1, 2, 3. Excellent.
Thank you for your great work.
Yeah, thank you. I will point out that there are over 1,700 administrators in the state of West Virginia, and that was one of 10. So
Yeah.
we're very
Outstanding.
grateful here. So thank you so much. Okay, next we would like to introduce Ms. Sherry Ross, the principal at Jefferson High School, to introduce our AAA cross-country state champion,
Thank you.
who I was thrilled to meet because I've only seen her in the paper.
I know, she's
like,
a
wow.
celebrity. Indeed. It gives me great pleasure to introduce you to Abby Colbert. Abby was one of the first students that I was introduced to at Jefferson High School, and she was simply introduced as our runner. And so I knew that must bode great things for Abby. So congratulations on earning the state championship again in cross country. Abby has placed in the top 5 every year during her high school career, so quite an accomplished runner indeed. And Coach Kirby and Coach Susie, yes, also send their regards. They're sorry that they're not able to be here tonight to greet you for this. So congratulations.
Congratulations. like I think maybe just the board just needs to
Yeah.
hang out up there
I think the board
and get
needs
their
to-
picture taken with
Yeah.
these awesome kids and then
What year are you? What year are you in school? Senior. Senior, so this is your last cross-country run.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, congratulations. Congratulations. You'll keep running for life? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Okay, and next, Ms. Jody Brock is going to introduce a student from our Wildwood Middle School program.
I'm actually going to introduce Mrs. Lake and
Oh, okay.
Ross.
Hi, good evening. My name's Denise Likens, and I'm a 6th grade teacher at Wildwood. And I'm kind of like the coach or mentor for our Wildwood Sea Perch team. And this is Captain Jeremy Adams. He is from NOAA, and he is the support for our team that we have. And you may be asking yourself, what is Sea Perch? It is an innovative underwater robotic program that equips 2 to 4 students in a team with the resources to build an underwater remotely operated vehicle, or an ROV, in our after-school programs. This program this year was no longer funded by NOAA, like everybody else, financial cuts.
We've never had funding.
And I was looking for a funding source last year for buying the kits. And this student of mine came to me, Ross Elkins, and he explained he was looking for a service project for his bar mitzvah. And he told me his goal was $5,000. Needless to say, I was shocked. Ross is a student in my 6th grade class, and I knew he had the abilities to accomplish whatever he put his mind to. And Ross began his project by waking several mornings at about 3 a.m. To fill orders of the best baked cinnamon buns we teachers have ever purchased. He held garage sales, and he even contacted family members through donations. On Saturday, it was my pleasure to attend his bar mitzvah. Please understand that Ross is not your usual student. He has unlimited willingness to accomplish tasks he sets for himself, and he sets a really high bar, and he meets them. He thinks of others rather than himself. And his mother told me at his bar mitzvah he had bought an Xbox, and he had gotten one as a gift, and that he could return it for the gift cards that he purchased it with. And he said, no, I don't want the gift cards, I want the money, and I want to put it in the Sea Perch account. And that's the type of young man he is. I'd like you to know that right now the total is $4,600 for our Sea Perch program. And Ross is also one of this year's nominees for our club. He single-handedly kept this program running for 20 more students at our school to have the opportunity to be in Sea Perch. And saying to him thank you just doesn't seem to be enough. All the kids were saying, what do we do, what do we do? So here's my thank you. You've taught me what giving of oneself is. It's just not money, but personal caring and time. A belief in what can be accomplished by one person, and another bright future for students who are in Sea Perch this year. So it's with great pleasure that I introduce to you Mr. Ross Elkins.
Well, congratulations. Sure, please. It's my pleasure. Absolutely.
One, two,
Thank you for Noah's support of STEM. It's my pleasure. And young man, I think. Oh. She rules. You're right. I think the school system may need to hire you to help raise some money for us. He's figuring out what we can't figure out.
I'm proud of his mom.
You should have been there Saturday.
Oh my God, I'm crying now. It's not mine.
I know.
Just like by osmosis. Okay.
Wow. This is fun. Let's keep going.
Isn't it though? Isn't it though? So next I'd like to introduce Miss Nicole Schaefer, the principal at Blue Ridge Primary School, to introduce our Spirit of Jefferson Award winner for this month. And I will note that when we opened up nominations to the public and got a deluge of nominations from parents and citizens from across the county who just had some very compelling stories to tell us about how Jefferson staff had touched their lives in some way. So that's been a wonderful, wonderful program.
Well, that was tough to follow, so I'm going to try and not get emotional. That was amazing. That was, and as a mother, my goodness, we all would hope that our children will grow up to be that unbelievable. I would like to introduce Ms. Shelley Spitzer. Come on up. And it's my pleasure to announce and introduce Shelley Spitzer as the recipient of the Spirit of Jefferson Award. She is a kindergarten teacher at Blue Ridge Primary, and that in and of itself says a lot. Kindergarten is where your very first impressions of school are made, and Shelley ensures that all students in her room are welcomed into a warm and nurturing environment. She goes above and beyond to involve the community in students' learning. After all, most children's classrooms have been their homes up to this point, and they are often quite unsure of what to think of this public school thing. As my son put it after his first day of kindergarten in Mrs. Spitzer's class, I said, "Okay, are we ready to go back?" And he said, "I already did that. We're done." And to me, I said, "Well, the state of West Virginia says we're going to do this 179 more times, my friend." And so what Shelley did for him is she took him, my son, a non-writing, hater of anything that involved coloring, and non-reader, to an avid fan of books, writing, and school in general. And she does this not only with my son, but with every single student that comes into Blue Ridge Primary. She instills a love of learning in every student and ensures a firm foundation. She is an exemplary teacher and is definitely deserving of this award, and it is my pleasure to give it to you. And we hug at Primary. Yeah, we hug.
That was only one of multiple nominations for Ms. Spitzer for that award.
Very deserving.
Yes.
Thank you. Congratulations, and thanks for teaching kindergarten. That's amazing. I had 2 in there. I know.
1, 2, 3.
Thank you.
Okay. So, you may want to brace yourselves. Gentlemen, we would love to welcome the Shepherdstown Middle School boys football team.
Here they come.
You're most welcome. You are next Patriots. We'll have you right here. My apologies for the delay. There's just lots of amazing kids in the system. We just can't get through them all fast enough. So we have here today the Shepherdstown Middle School boys football team. the winner of the county championship that I had the honor and privilege of doing the coin toss for. It was a little bit intimidating. I couldn't see the stands on either side. And Coach Holmes is here to say a few words as well, and Mr. Blank's going to award their certificate.
Thank you for having us. How many times I'm speechless. You heard the guys outside here. Pretty excited. Soccer team, Miss Colbert, football team, you even had to come out and settle them down so we could get on with business. It's so exciting. I always hear the rumors that we want to do away with middle school sports, but it's really important. Look at these guys here. They're here for a reason, not because they just decided to show up. These are 4 guys that represented our program. 0 in-school suspensions, 0 lunch detentions. 4 fine gentlemen. Probably 99% of our scoring came from these 3 guys right here. And this is one of my favorite guys right here, Ethan. We didn't get along too well when he was in the 6th grade.
One of the 2 of you got more mature, right?
He did. He did. And I'm just proud of these guys because we started this journey in March, and this is the first team I've had that was willing to start early. For any coaches in here, you know, guys don't want to come out and give up their summers. They don't want to come out in June. They don't want to come out in July. And these guys were there from March until the final game. This guy had pneumonia 2 days before the game and decided to talk the doctor into allowing him to play. He went as far as he could in the game, and he came out, so I appreciate it. 17 out of our 30 players never played football before. They got to middle school, so that's a big accomplishment. We built this program from the ground up, and I appreciate my fans and coaches for being there, and we'll be back in there again next year.
All be done, and I think you're the smallest of our number-wise of our middle schools in the county, which is quite an honor. Like I say that you're small but mighty. And tribute to the coach and the quality of your players, and that starts with the leadership.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you.
Congratulations, sir.
Congratulations. Now I see marshmallow and cake. What are the other names over here? Okay.
The coordinator.
You see, they think highly of themselves.
So if you all come up
Yeah,
here
come in the
and
middle.
we'll
Let's get a good
stand
picture.
and we'll get a picture. And I too, like the superintendent, had a chance to see your championship game, and that was pretty impressive football. So thank you all very much.
Appreciate that.
Turn around and we'll get in here. Yeah. We all.
Yeah, see? This is the problem that I had with the coin toss, so who knows what's going on? They're towering.
Good job. Good job.
Right.
Good job. All right, hold on, sorry.
Okay.
Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2. Very good.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Congratulations. Well done.
Thank you, Coach. Appreciate Shepherd and watch here. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's hard.
Want me to open that?
Last but certainly not least, we would love for our state champion
We had the seniors last time.
We had the
right?
seniors, yes, and there were 10 of them, and it's a big chunk right down the middle. Big chunk. And they all came, all of them must have been. They all came. Yeah, thread on. Thread on a ring, that'd be good. Thread on a ring. Thread on a ring.
Come on, all the way around. Yeah. Yeah. You guys get around here? Oh, yeah. Wow. Look at this. Look at this.
Good evening. We're glad to be back once again, and we are so proud of our gentlemen. We have Coach Robbins here this evening, who's going to talk just a little bit about them. And we're especially proud of Coach Robbins because even though we were the runners-up, we're pretty proud of that. Coach Robbins was named the AAA Coach of the Year, and that is outstanding recognition for him. We're so proud.
Thank you, first of all, for having us here and for this honor. We had a great season this year. We were really excited. We had a lot of things go well for us. We had our most wins in a single season for our program. We got our 100th win in our program's history this year, as well as conference championship, Region 2, Section 1 championship, Region 2 championship, and state finalists. So we're really excited about that. Just some of the young men we have here that were on the varsity team, unfortunately, we had several that couldn't make it tonight, but I'm really excited to have these young men here. First, this is my assistant coach, Chris Robbins. You may notice the last name. We work together pretty closely. So, Eric Snyder was one of our players, sophomore who played varsity, did outstanding for us this year, actually had the game-winning goal in our region championship. Juan Casadoza, a senior, young man, had an outstanding season. Cole Rystrip, senior with the team. Alec Mowing, who's directly behind you, was a second team all-conference and honorable mention all-state. Stone Sanders, first team all-state, first team all-conference. Evan Snyder, second team all-conference. Luke Ward, junior on the varsity squad. Josh Ward, his brother, the freshman who played for us this year. Chris Burnett, senior for our team, actually transferred into the school right after the beginning of the school year and was a huge part of our team as we went to the state championship. Sam Vera was first team all-state, first team all-conference. Bryce Mahoney, honorable mention all-conference. Kyle Rodriguez, our center back, who we could not do without, made all the difference as we went into the playoffs. And then Becker Junkin, who was first team all-conference, first team all-state, and also goalkeeper of the year for the state of West Virginia.
Awesome. Wow. And I hope that I heard a couple of sophomores and maybe a few juniors, so you got a couple of returning.
We do. We had 11 seniors on the squad, but everybody else got some playing time this year and a lot of experience, and we had a lot of freshmen, so we're set for the next 4 years.
Well, we look forward to seeing you back next year. Well, outstanding. Job well done, gentlemen. And let's get a picture.
Can I ask you guys to scoot, see, I really like each other for a second. Perfect. Switch chairs, how's that?
Come on over, Mrs. Arden.
All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3.
All right. Okay.
Excellent.
Thanks again. Congratulations. Now, I know
you guys, great job, you guys.
Play against in the neighborhood. There are a lot of good soccer players in the neighborhood. We gotta watch out for them.
My son.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you. They're goalies. Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen.
Madam Superintendent, while it's always nice to see the sheriff, it's been such a great meeting. I think we should adjourn it now. In fact, it's been the best meeting. So,
So no pressure, Pete.
I entertain a motion.
Well, and actually, to that point, there are a lot of amazing students and families in this county, and they work hard and have some incredible accomplishments every single day. And we have a very large responsibility, not just for their education and their growth as young men and women, but their safety, all of which we take very seriously. And citizens don't always see or know all the work that goes on behind the scenes, much like a championship team. You see at the end when everything turns out well, and you don't see the hundreds of hours of practice and the time away from their families and the sacrifices that they make. And the security of our schools and our crisis plan is much the same way. We spend a tremendous amount of time planning and working and drilling and doing things behind the scenes that people don't see. And then at the end of the day, when it's a non-event and things go smoothly, that's fantastic. So Dr. Hoff and Mr. Dougherty are going to give us some information about our school's crisis planning and
thank you. And obviously, given that we have had some recent threats, we wanted thought this would be an important topic for not only the board to get a review, but also the community. And I know we've said it before, but I think I always want to emphasize how fortunate this community is to have a sheriff who spent so many years on this side of this dais, and the understanding the schools and what the safety needs of the students are. It's made for an enormously successful partnership. So thank you.
Thank you. Let me, for the purpose of the public generally, to understand that over the last few years, the Board of Education has done many things that I think has helped improve. You've revised your policies about school safety. You've done what's been requested, and we think what is really the model in going forward, and allowed lots of site-based decision-making. This is an era and a time where if a threat occurs, it's imminent, and administrators and people at the school level need to be making decisions based on the best information that they have, and to be good informers to first responders, whether it's law enforcement or fire or ambulance people coming in as to what's there. So that's been very helpful, and I appreciate what the board has done. This is a process that none of us like, the thought of these kinds of things, but those of you on that side of the table and people like me, we spend a lot of time worrying about the what ifs and what might go wrong and how do we fix it. That requires, and I think we have to spend a little more time working on some additional drilling and practice. Where Ms. Ross shows up at Jefferson High School, and I think the day you show up or the next day we have a bomb threat at the school and so on, and she's there, and first of all she was doing terrific, but we recounted sort of what we do right and what we do wrong. And so what we have to do is we have to practice in advance. When there is an incident, we have to go back on both sides and look, what did we do right and what did we do wrong? What can we do to make it work better? And we will continue to do that. We also, my office and other law enforcement agencies in the county work on your school safety plans that come out, review them, hopefully make some positive suggestions. And we're in your buildings every day for a whole variety of reasons, and I try to encourage deputies to go into the buildings, not because there's necessarily a problem, but because we want, particularly at the elementary school level, we want students to see law enforcement there, not because there's a problem, but to see them in the capacity that we're really there for, and that is to be a help. We're there to protect them. We're there to help them. I will say most of my deputies are pretty nice people, and they like children. I'll leave it at that. We don't like some of the problems that we face, but we like children. The other thing the superintendent and I have discussed, and Dr. Huff and I have discussed, there's an initiative in West Virginia that's been going on for a little while now that's not really occurring in a big way in our part of the state. But when I heard about it, I thought this is something we needed to do. I think you have some information in front of you. It's a program called Handle with Care. And the idea of this is that when
there are 2 sheets.
Yeah. What happens many times is something happens at a house. We may be going there, we may have a search warrant. We may be going into an apartment-style building where there may be a threat in the building. We may have a death or an injury. Someone may be using drugs or alcohol excessively. We may have a domestic violence situation. And what happens is many times there are children present. And what this initiative is designed to do is to not only have us recognize that there are children there, because we do that on the front end, but to sort of get some basic information. Who is the child and what is the incident? And we've talked, Dr. Huff and I have talked, and what we've thought the simplest way to do this is to use the reporting system, the anonymous reporting system that you all have, because if Johnny may be in a house. I mean, having sat on your side of the table, it is wonderful when you have a couple of loving parents who are there and they're helping kids with their homework and doing that kind of stuff. But we have a number of children who don't have that kind of household, and sometimes, as my deceased wife used to say, we're fortunate some of these kids could actually get themselves to school some days. Well, what we don't want to do is Johnny's in a household where something traumatic has happened and law enforcement has been there, and Johnny's perhaps not been the best person at coming in and bringing his homework on a regular basis anyhow. And he comes in that morning and immediately the teacher is looking for his homework and he doesn't have his homework, and the teacher jumps on Johnny, and then Johnny reacts in an inappropriate way as well, and then nobody's in good shape. So the idea of the Handle with Care program is we would be notifying you, the school system, that there was an event that happened that affects a particular student and where that student goes to school. And from that point, and what we say is a Handle with Care. Because of privacy issues, we can't tell you many times what the issue is all about, but we want you and your staff, your administrators, your counselors, and so on to know that sort of at the beginning of the day. So somebody might get a hold of Johnny and say, everything okay, and if you're an elementary school kid, you're probably going to tell them the whole story in 30 seconds. If you're a high school kid, you may not want to say anything at all, but nonetheless, at least you understand, and the staff will know what's being done. So it's a statewide initiative. Booth Goodwin, who's the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District, has really sort of led it. There's an office out of the Professional Development Center in Charleston with the state police that have it as well, and so we'll introduce it obviously to the administrators in a somewhat informal way, and then come back with the folks in Charleston, because as you all know, nothing really happens unless the people in Charleston say that's the way to go. So now that we're already doing it, we'll make some arrangement to find an appropriate time to have them come up and do it as well. So I talked to the superintendent. We wanted to talk about these issues. I do want to also say, there were a series of bomb threats that were going on at Jefferson High School and at Wildwood. I think everyone tried to do the best they can in a rather adverse situation. We try to learn something on our end as well. Several students have been discovered being involved with that, and petitions have been filed against them. It is a crime, obviously, but more than a crime, I think, for all of us, when you interrupt Jefferson High School, and it takes a couple of hours for us to be in there, have bomb dogs go through, you're losing a couple of thousands hours of instructional time for students, and you're paying a lot of employees who aren't teaching what they're supposed to be doing, and you're obviously tying up a lot of law enforcement. I think when we were at Jefferson High School, between the outside agencies that came in and local police agencies, we probably had 15 or 18 police on scene for a couple of hours, well, about 3 hours altogether. So that's a significant thing. So we need to do a better job, I'm not casting it on you, but we as a community need to impress more to our students as well that these aren't pranks, this isn't fun, these are serious situations, they're costly situations, and if you're engaged in part of it, you will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of law. That's our job.
To that end, Sheriff, can you elaborate a little bit on what the consequences are for this type of
conduct?
Well,
I mean, as a juvenile, if they're juveniles, it's not nearly as significant. Your juvenile record is generally something that will not carry forth with you, but you can be arrested. You could be detained if the situation seems to warrant it. You can go to the Eastern Vicki Douglass Center next to the Eastern Regional Jail. If you're an adult, you can go. It's a felony offense. You can go to prison.
And according to the state code of conduct, that is a level 4.
Mm-hmm. And obviously, yeah, for your purposes, yes, it's an expellable offense.
Mm-hmm. Questions, comments from the board? On the Defending Childhood Initiative, I realize that's coming online, but would you envision you learn of an incident that may or may not involve the child directly, but you would notify Dr. Huff or notify principal? Or
the way we've kind of set it up right now is through the anonymous reporting system, the law officer on the scene, regardless of agency, can simply send that report. It comes directly to me the minute they hit submit. It also goes to Mr. White, the coordinator for at-risk. So there's 2 of us who are getting it immediately. We, in turn, will verify the school because we know the folks in the field don't always have the the right information. Sometimes the child doesn't quite remember where they go to school. And we will notify the administrator. We're also working with Mary Ellen Lloyd, who oversees the nurses and the counselors, and she in turn will contact the nurse or the counselor for that school. And we know with elementary particularly, we're sharing sometimes a nurse or a counselor, and the plan is that if there is a particular need that day, that maybe the counselor would switch her hours and do a morning versus an afternoon if the administrator feels that's appropriate and the need is there. So it's going to be a situational response depending on what the need is. But most importantly, letting the administrators know that this child needs to be handled with care, that some things have gone on that may cause him or her not to act appropriately in class.
And this is one of those places where technology helps us in this process, because my evening shift comes out at 3:30 in the afternoon, they go home at 1:30 in the morning. So by the time you're ready to start school in the morning, most of them hopefully are having a nice sleep and are not really able to be getting a hold of you then. But based on this, at 1 o'clock in the morning, they can type that little email in. It goes into Dr. Huff, and your folks get to see it before school's starting. And as Dr. Huff and I have done on a number of occasions, where we're looking and talking about a student, she can go find out that, yes, this is, we have this student. No, he doesn't go to Driftwood. He goes to some other school, and we can get that, he goes to C.W. Shipley or something like that. So even if the officer doesn't have it right, they're able to look immediately in the student records. And we don't obviously look at that. We don't have that kind of information. But the good part is, in the old way, it would be, well, you'd have to sort of wait and then have to talk to somebody who then could talk to somebody.
Right.
And that's not, you want timely information, this is the best way to do it.
Excellent. Thank you both for this presentation, but more importantly, for your eyes on the daily job. Thank you.
Thank you. Great pleasure to be here and fun to have a good night here.
He says as he leaves.
Good night.
Okay.
So next up on the agenda, we have, as the board and most of the public are aware, we were notified by the state of a mandatory 1% budget reduction, and we are required to turn into the state how we've managed to achieve that reduction, because as we've noted previously, that was a reduction to this current fiscal year's funding after we were already 5 months into the fiscal year. So Ms. Morone is going to give you some information both about the original reduction in state aid, some revised information that the state has sent out, and how we managed to achieve that cut without cutting any classroom funding. So thank you so much, Ms. Morone.
See if I can. Okay, on October 5th, the governor did announce that we were going to have a 4% mid-year reduction, and I just highlighted some of the things that the state was experiencing, and that was that their revenue collections are $60 million behind, and they're projecting a $250 million shortfall. And the 1% initially was going to impact us at $497,000. However, we did have good news, and that was when the actual executive order came out, our actual contribution was a little less than 1% for $356,000. The second phase, the reduction of the $4.9 million, I just wanted you to be aware that currently the state is trying to absorb that additional amount. If not, they will pass it through. And the last three items, the vocational aid, the adult basic ed, and the program modernization, won't affect us materially, but we would still have to make some cuts at the program level. How we address that, Dr. Gibson had asked me to summarize some of the staffing changes, and I know that the board has heard about those changes, and what I tried to do on this particular side is group it by the areas that were impacted, which is the non-instruction, and the savings that we reaped from those, and categorizing them in a one-time savings and a sustainable savings, which the board has heard that if we make those cuts, especially on the expenditure side, if they're sustainable, that will assist us with the revenue gap that we have. So I don't want to go through it. I don't know if you had any questions, but these primarily are the changes that we have had to our staffing at the central office, and how those changes have saved us. I'll give you a minute to digest it. I apologize I couldn't get it out to you earlier than today. So I list the original position. Okay.
So tell me us the difference between the one-time and the sustainable savings.
So a one-time would be for fiscal year 16, the budget that we're in. There would be a savings reaped this year, and then the sustainable would be what that cost or that reduction in expense would be going forward. So for example, I'll use the coordinator of high schools. This year we had a budget for the coordinator of high schools, and he left us mid-year. So the budget minus the expense that we incurred when he was here, and then the calculation of replacing that position, which it is a projection. I am projecting that we'll have that position filled by December 1st. The difference between that budget and the expense is the one-time savings. Going forward, that position is reduced by 21 days. So the sustainable savings is the reduction of those days. And it can get very complicated in thinking about it, which is why I laid it out and kind of grouped it. But when you think of one time, it's really the savings that we're going to have for this year's budget, and sustainable, it's just like you kind of walk through each individual one to understand it. So the total savings for our fiscal year 16 budget is the $278,450. Sustainable is almost $340,000. Those are the numbers I like. And then how we are meeting fiscal year 16 budget changes. Some additional things that we're looking at are on the revenue end, our increased revenue for the purchasing card, which is a sustainable increase. I just wanted to give a little bit of data on that because it's a program that Jefferson County is very proud of. The board adopted the P-Card program in April of 2010, and as of November 19th, we have a total spend of $35 million, and the rebate back to Jefferson County has been $391,000. Dr. Gibson met with the state auditor about a month ago, and we discussed having a larger rebate, and they came back about 2 weeks ago and made that they increased our rebate and made it retroactive to July 1st. So that change, and the $30,000 is conservative, coupled with a strong initiative to roll out to some of our other school programs that we haven't hit, athletics, small school supplies. We expect to increase our revenue rebate for the purchasing card program. Increased enrollment is this year. That's the net of the one position and the additional amount above budget. So we budgeted $250,000. We grew by 95 FTEs, which brought in about $132,000. We've only hired one position this year, so we will have a 110 increase. The decreases in expenditures, the 278 was on the previous slide. Those are the one-time changes that are hitting this budget. Our James Rumsey tuition is down by $11,200. Diesel, the state had initially given an additional 10% for using biodiesel. We are no longer getting that initiative, so we've switched some of our buses back to diesel for a lower cost in fueling them. And then I think the Centos is uniforms, Ralph, is that your area? Okay, so we did renegotiation with it, or the MOP services?
Well, it's MOPs and uniforms at the maintenance department.
Okay. Any questions?
Questions?
I have one quick one. The James Rumsey tuition decrease, is that because we have fewer students participating, or how did that work?
James Rumsey is, I think we have a board member that sits on that. Is that you, Gary? Okay, so James Rumsey is lagging behind us in making cuts in staffing. So this year, the actual total was $34,000 in savings. $23,000 was on the carryover was the difference between the actuals. And then when I looked at the budget to actuals, it was an additional $11,000. So I think it's more that they're recognizing that the counties are having to make cuts, and they're doing the same in their school.
Thank you.
Beth, I'm just a little confused on the governor's executive order. So there was the roughly the 1% across the board, and then you're saying, 1%. And then, but there's an additional reduction of almost $5 million in education.
Well, the original one was a 1% cut that we would have had at our level, the $500,000. But when it actually came out, it was only the $356. But there is that $5 million that the State Department hasn't given us guidance on because they're going to try. I think what happens is they take an administrative cut before they send those the funds to us, so they're trying to absorb that at the state level.
So this was a cut to the State Department of Education?
The State Department of Education took the 1% cut, and they made a commitment to try to make reductions at the state level to absorb some of that. So when they came back to us now, certainly we hope that that will continue to be the case. But as you saw, we didn't just try to get to the 1%. We are committed to being as efficient as we possibly can moving forward, so that even if there are increases in revenue in the future, we don't get additional cuts, that's money that we have to dedicate to instruction. And I really do want to thank the staff very, very much. They have made a significant commitment that we are going to keep cuts out of classrooms, and that's included people absorbing additional duties and taking cuts in days and rebidding out contracts that they just bid out, and really just doing a lot of hustle work behind the scenes to say every nickel and dime that we save is something that can go towards instruction. And I'm actually very, very proud of the work that the staff's done to be able to make that significant a cut and not cut a dime out of a classroom in Jefferson County. So.
Good. Yes, thank you. Thank you all for managing this situation as tightly as you can.
I will say one other thing, that I know that you're meeting with the legislators, and maybe some of them might be at your Thanksgiving table, but it would be nice that it's very difficult for the school system. It is very difficult for the school system to do a 1% cut when 80% of our budget is salaries and benefits mid-year.
Sure is.
So if they're thinking about another cut, we would like to mention the rainy day fund, and then it would make it easier not to try to absorb it this year.
Thank you for that subtle yet effective reminder there, Ms. Merle.
What time's dinner?
Y'all gonna show up?
Yeah. All right. Well, I just got it orders. Okay. Swim practice.
Oh, goodness. Okay. Once again, interest of transparency, since we're talking about budget. Yes, we've made a number of cuts, but budget is about us deciding our priorities and placing our resources towards those priorities, not just cutting. As some folks may or may not be aware, our high school athletic programs, we have a few athletic programs that we don't have the facilities on site to meet the students' needs, and so they have to go off-site to practice. And this board made a commitment to the safety of those students and providing round-trip transportation to them, which is something that we had not done previously. Those students were responsible for their own transportation, and there were concerns about their safety. So the transportation department worked that out, and we now provide round-trip transportation for any high school athletic program that does not have the facilities to conduct practice on site, and the students have to travel. So for this year, right now, that constitutes the swim team, and that will be an additional $2,201 in cost to us, but we are working to offset those costs with other cuts. But we maintain a commitment to student safety and to instruction, and we'll continue to expend money in those categories and to make sure that that's taken care of, even as we look to be more efficient in other ways. But we'll never do that at the expense of student safety or instruction. So making sure people understand that balance and that we continue to commit to these things.
Questions? So is that effective?
That was effective as of Monday.
And it's for both
the remainder of the
schools?
season for both high schools equitably, yes, sir.
Okay. And do we envision any other high school athletic or programs needing this other than swimming?
Soccer at Jefferson High School, because they do not have the practice facilities at Jefferson, and we will do the same for them. Yes, sir.
Okay. Great. Superintendent comments, anything else this evening?
Wow, well, pretty much the students and staff have spoken for themselves. I do have one other thing, in that the Chamber of Commerce is sponsoring a legislative town hall meeting in December. We sent a notice out electronically to all of our staff if they had any questions or concerns for legislators that they wanted to represent Jefferson County, because that occurs during the workday when they are all on duty. We wanted them to be able to have a voice and to be heard. So we're collecting those. We've had a number of our own staff send in comments. We're collating those. We're going to provide those to the chamber so that they can give them to our legislators so that our staff's voices are heard in that.
When is that?
That is December if you would ask me. I will have that for you in just a second. Sorry.
Well, you can follow up.
Yes, sir, I will. It's right here. So December the 3rd. Thank you. December the 3rd.
There's an on-the-ball journalist.
There you go.
I was at the last meeting. So.
Okay. Anything else?
No, sir.
Okay. Action on approval of minutes of the last regular board meeting. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any questions, clarifications? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Citizens' comments. Mrs. Reynolds, thank you for your patience this evening. Nice to see you.
As you're aware of, last week was American Education Week. And each year I keep coming back and giving a little bit more of the history of American Education Week before I go on with my presentation. And this year's no different. The National Education Association was one of the creators and original supporters of American Education Week. The NEA met with the American Legion in 1919 to seek ways to generate public support for education in response to the fact that 25% of the World War I draftees were illiterate and 9% were physically unfit. Both organizations subsequently adopted resolutions of support for a national effort to raise public awareness of the importance of education. The first observance of American Education Week occurred December 4th through 10th in 1921, with the NEA and the American Legion as co-sponsors. A year later, the then called the U.S. Office of Education joined as a co-sponsor, and the PTA followed in 1938. Numerous other sponsors have since joined the effort. American Education Week is now celebrated the week prior to the week of Thanksgiving. Even though American Education Week was celebrated last week, the Jefferson County Education Association, an affiliate of the West Virginia Education Association and the National Education Association, would like to honor its members who directly affect the education and lives of the students of Jefferson County through their dedication to Jefferson County schools. And at this time, it is my honor to present this $500 check to the Jefferson County Schools Shoe and Coat Fund on behalf of our organization and dedicated members.
What was the figure again for the
25% of World War I draftees were illiterate, and 9% were physically unfit. Yes. And I'd also like to say, I am a member of that American Legion Auxiliary.
Yeah.
I've also sponsored veterans organizations since I was 16.
Well, thanks for sharing that history, and glad to see that the American support for public education remains so strong from 1919 and indeed even before. And thank you. Today is a reminder of the need of a coat fund. Thanks for your support every year and the support of your membership. It speaks a lot to their dedication. There were no other citizens' comments, correct? Okay. Consent agenda.
You'll note that there is a single change on the consent agenda under the board notice of superintendent approvals number 6. There was simply a typographical error in that they placed JCAS there, and that was actually the finance secretary at Jefferson High School. Hit a C instead of an H, but everything else is as noted.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any questions on the consent agenda? We did have in the summary of treasurer's report, impact fee collections and referendum. That's all in this. Yeah, good. Thank you. And a very clean consent agenda as well. Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, any questions? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you very much. We have one item under old business.
Yes, sir. We had previously approached the board and provided you with a series of data sheets outlining both the status of our current maintenance fleet and a replacement schedule and criteria for that replacement schedule, as well as a sheet showing varying levels of snow removal based on the size of the fleet, and submitted a request to the board for the purchase of additional vehicles. Mr. Dingus with the Transportation and Maintenance Departments then went forth and did a considerable amount of work and research to look at varying options, and they are coming back with a change to their recommendation. So,
yep. Mr. Buzzard did almost all that work. I mean, he looked and he looked and he looked and he tried all kind of different ways. We looked at old ones, we looked at new ones, and when we looked, we could get a used truck, but it was $3,000 less than a brand new truck, which if I was spending my money, I would never do that, because, that's just not a good use of our money. And being good stewards of the money, we wanted to think about what really happened. Now, being a good steward of the money, Mr. Buzzard made a heck of a deal. If you look at your sheet that actually talks about what he actually got done, we have a truck that we can't use any longer, but if we put the snowplower, which won't fit the new truck, back on it, he got $3,000 for that truck as a trade-in, which is a wonderful deal. That knocks down the price of our truck and down and down. So we're down to $31,000 for a 2015 Dodge Ram with this deal. They cover everything under the drive. Go tell us everything.
The drivetrain is all covered. You got your engine, your transmission, transfer case, and your rear end covered as long as we own the truck. We'll never have to fix it. If it breaks while they're pushing snow, the engine blows up, it's covered. As long as we take and change the oils like we normally do and keep records of it. I talked to the manager at Miller's, and they said that as long as we do that, it wouldn't be a problem. So
and we told them we were going to push snow with it.
Yes, I did.
So it was a straight up thing. Mr. Buzzard also, before he took the truck up there, took the brand new tires off of it, and we'll use them on a different truck. That's another $800 picked up there.
That sounds like something to do.
He's done a really good job for us, and we really appreciate the work he's put in. And it's going to be a great truck for a long time for the maintenance department, and something well needed. Like I said, this is a snow truck, but it's also a truck for our homeowners that we use every day, moving from place to place. Anything else? All good?
I got pictures of it if y'all want to see it. It's gray.
Well, I think it's important to note that we are always going to seek out the most cost-effective solution, but sometimes the cheapest price isn't the most cost-effective in the long term. And to their credit, they sat down and Mr. Dingus brought to the group and back to the leadership team every single one of these vehicles that they went through. They looked at the mileage, they looked at the warranty, they looked at the cost over time. So, in some ways they're being a little bit modest about the sheer amount of work that went into this and the comparison pricing to look at ensuring that we have a good long-term commitment. You will also note that since this is a single vehicle instead of two vehicles, they went back in and updated the snow removal sheet to show you just exactly what our capacity would be with the single truck rather than two used trucks, because we simply did not believe it was feasible for us, so that's the amount of money that we had. I think they both showed good fiscal stewardship, and I think they've done an outstanding job in terms of just the openness and coming back with data every single time to support the decisions that you're making. So thank you for your work in that.
Okay, can we get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Questions?
When's it coming in?
We can get it setting up on the lot today.
We can get it tomorrow if you want.
Get it tomorrow if we get a PO that way.
You can get the PO.
Have to watch the
The
weather.
man's waiting on me to give him a call just as soon as I get out of the meeting tonight. He's all happy.
Don't get it yet, because I have a feeling that this is the reason why snow is in the forecast for next week.
Oh, let's hope not.
Oh, yes.
I know, I saw it too, but I saw it, I did.
Hence a little bit of a sense of urgency, but yeah.
So this would give us then seven trucks in the fleet?
7 trucks.
Okay.
And an extra set of tires.
And an extra set of tires.
I think everything
Buzz had agreed to.
And do we can get this warranty in writing?
It is in writing.
It is.
And it mentions snow pushing on there?
Yes.
Yeah.
I asked him that question.
Made sure he put it. He did a heck of a job, I tell you what. It was pushing.
I asked the vice president of Miller's last week when I was up there, and he also just handed me another one of them flyers and said, "It's lifetime warranty." I said, "Okay, that's what I needed." So if you need another copy of it, I probably got one in my folder over there.
So this truck comes with a plow?
No, ma'am.
No.
Okay. So do we have a plow that will go on it, or a plow
We're gonna
that
have
need
to
to
buy
be
one.
purchased to plow as well?
Yeah. There's the lifetime warranty.
And how much will a plow cost?
The power cost us about $4,000 because Mr. Buzzard again made a deal with them that if we bought it from there, we could get another better deal on the plow.
Will they mount it, or do you have to?
They will mount it. It's Shade.
Shade Equipment's going to
Shade
mount it.
Oh, Shade will do it.
Yes, sir.
And they'll have it ready for us by next week?
We'll be good.
All right, any other questions? All in favor, say aye. Opposed?
Thank you for the work.
Yeah, thanks, gentlemen.
And this continues to be, as you'll note, about $18,000 less than what the board authorized for the
Correct.
2 snow vehicles. So once again, trying to be fiscally cautious until we move into the next part of this budget season and see what the state's going to do, but still meet our maintenance needs. So.
Make your plans.
Yes, sir.
New business.
This is, as you saw earlier tonight, we have some amazing groups of students who are very, very accomplished and who frequently are honored for their work by being elevated to regional and state and, national competitions. And we currently do not have a provision in our policy for anyone other than the board to approve the travel. If students are going on out-of-area trips, that is solely board approval. And what's happened in the past is, if all of a sudden we meet on a Monday night and then the, boys team plays on Tuesday night and we find that we won regionals and they go, they go because they assume that the board would be supportive of that, and then we come back and ask retroactively. So I think it would be helpful only in cases where between board meetings, either an athletic or co-curricular team wins their way, earns their way into some type of regional or state competition, and then much like with the HR, I can approve those in the interim, so those folks actually have, our approval. We're covering those folks. We know who's driving them. We know that they're sanctioned and can send them on their way, and then notice the board at the next meeting. Not for regular out-of-area field trips, not to replace the board's approval of regular ongoing out-of-area trips, only for ones that occur between meetings. So.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Questions? So then does it then come to you for approval?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Makes all kinds of sense. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. We contemplated an executive session
Yes,
on
sir.
some personnel and legal issues. Do we anticipate any action?
I do not believe so, sir.
Okay, all right. So we will, any comments from the board before we adjourn into executive session? Ms. Ogden?
Just happy Thanksgiving to all the students. I hope everybody stays safe and all the traveling gets back safely and starts strong as we head to Christmas.
Ms. Skinner, tell us again what time that dinner is.
I remember seeing something on the website about the biology teacher of the year from Wildwood Middle School. Did we have any mention? Mm-hmm.
I think we honored her a few weeks back.
For that?
I remember honoring her for the biology.
That might have been her national certification.
May have been her national certification. Well, we'll double check that.
No,
That might have been something.
I think,
She
yeah.
gets honored quite a bit.
Yeah, she does. Yes.
Yeah, but that's important.
Yeah, that's an impressive
So,
one.
sure
Well, and
is.
we will make sure to do that
Yep.
at the next meeting. Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Cable?
Nothing further.
Just a couple of things before we adjourn. Back under old business, we forgot to specify, we've been talking about the budget tonight and budget cuts. There are dedicated funds for this from referendum for the purchase.
Oh, yes, sir.
Yeah. So again, just a reminder of some of the different pots of money and the restrictions on those pots of money. Would like to thank the League of Women Voters who sponsored an information forum a couple of weeks ago on the renewal of the school levy. It was well attended, and appreciate the League of Women Voters for their educational efforts in the community on this and so many other issues. Also thank the Chamber of Commerce for hosting a luncheon for its membership last week. The entire topic was dedicated to the renewal of the school levy and its importance to the community and schools. So big thank you to the Chamber and the community for their attention to this and understanding how important education in the schools are to a thriving and successful community. I think that's it. Speaking of Education Week, Ms. Reynolds, a big shout out to South Jefferson Elementary, and I'm sure other schools did as well last week, sponsoring a career day. And I participated at South Jefferson along with many others from the community. And I can assure you that I was not successful in convincing any fifth graders or fourth graders to become a member of the Board of Education. And it was incredibly difficult to compete with a couple of the Air Force pilots who were there, even the superintendent, but it was a great fun. I hope the students enjoyed it as much as we did, but again, a great way to honor and reflect on Education Week. So.
Speaking of that, we probably should say thank you as well to APUS for sponsoring the business symposium with all the students from both high schools and a lot of business leaders to teach them and talk to them about moving forward in the business realm. So it's a good opportunity.
The best question I got, I had the two best questions. A student asked me if I was the boss of the bus drivers, and I explained that no, I wasn't. The superintendent is. And then another student said, "Well, who's your boss?" And I said, "Your mom and dad." So it was a lot of fun. But okay, we'll entertain a motion to go in executive session to discuss pending personnel and legal issues.
So moved. Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. We'll take a 5-minute break.